Despite the attractions of a life spent forcing dogs to smoke cigarettes, he entered the University of Lancaster to read history and to avoid going down south. During our visits to one another, I was able to compare our respective university experiences. Mine was chemistry with a dash of Brideshead Revisited, and Chris's was vodka with a dash of lime. My girlfriends were wholesome, his girlfriends were elegantly wasted, and Chris was just wasted. It looked like fun. During the vacations, he taught me how to drink, and we watched Beavis and Butthead till the early hours. Trinity Farm cemented its place in my heart. Part recording studio, part rural retreat. It's the sort of place that rock stars rent to record concept albums in. But Chris's parents were running the place, and not even the Beatles could have afforded them. Their hospitality was and is immense, and by getting up at 5 o'clock in the morning, reminded us that other people were working, even if we were not. Back in Lancaster, Chris had his own band, Day Job, who sounded rather punk, but he was listening to Nick Drake and Syd Barrett, who didn't. He managed to reconcile these two sides of his musical personality by sending me compilation tapes. Chris's band hit the big time at King Tut's Wah Wah Hut in Glasgow, where Alan McGee had discovered Oasis a few years before. Alan McGee wasn't in the audience the night Day Job played, and Chris mostly avoided the fate that had befallen Noel Gallagher. Instead of becoming a washed-up, coke-addled millionaire, Chris became the director of a computer company in Lancaster. It was the Lancastrian dot-com boom, and it appeared to be some sort of scam, but it made him money, and before long he was a property tycoon as well. The company caught the notice of the government, and a Tory grandee came to visit the office. From the respectful way in which Chris spoke of this peer of the realm, I gathered something was afoot. Ever since I had known Chris, he'd been a class warrior, a working-class hero, in his own words. On our albums, he assigned my songs to the fictitious Old Boy Music record label. It was hard to see past his big head, but he might have had a chip on his shoulder. While I was cheering on the doomed Tories in the late 90s, Chris was joining the winning side and the Lancaster University Labour Club. Now he was palling around with cigar-smoking plutocrats, tearing up his Labour Party membership card and joining the still hopeless Conservatives. I asked myself what had happened. First, he had read the Alan Clark diaries and discovered that sophisticated Tories had equally sophisticated sex lives. Second, the government banned fox hunting, and Chris blew a fuse. The eloquent and endlessly entertaining rage which has always poured out of Chris, and which had once been directed at his school teachers, now found a new focus. Chris had never been hunting, but it might have proved usefully annoying in a future life as a deranged country squire. Furthermore, hunt saboteurs were the same people who had tried to make him feel guilty about his after-hours experiments with the macaques at Huntington Life Sciences. Then the government banned smoking, and he went berserk. Because he wasn't just planning to smoke in a future life, he was smoking right now. He manned the barricades, and once he had recovered his breath, delivered a historical call to arms in his recently published book, which I urge you all to buy. As a one-man anti-smoking campaign, he has found a new calling, and we look forward to Chris becoming freshly enraged as future governments find more things to ban, and we watch him turn into a sort of healthcare Jeremy Clarkson. In recent years, Chris has been on several very long holidays, although like many others who go on long holidays, he prefers the word travelling. Sensibly, he has holidayed mostly in English-speaking parts of the world, keeping to a minimum that alienating sensation of being abroad. He has idled extensively in Australia, put his feet up in New Zealand, and vacationed in the US, where he visited me in Connecticut and drunkenly lost his bank card 3 days into a 3-month jaunt. He bravely holidayed on, writing a very funny blog for the local newspaper he was supposedly working for, who billed it as his trip of a lifetime. Trip of a summertime would have been more accurate, and he was soon off again, burning his bridges at the Northern Echo and taking a scarcely earned break in the Far East. Disoriented at finding himself outside the Anglosphere, he surrendered entirely to hedonism, picking up some French in Vietnam and picking up some more in Thailand. His life was turning into a Graham Greene novel. Somewhere in Indochina, I suppose, he hit bottom. Sitting at a filthy bar and catching sight of his unshaved face in the mirror, his thoughts turned to home and to those who loved him. Emma Chapman's face seemed to hover before him in a cloud of opium smoke. Suddenly, everything was clear. Shaking himself out of his trance, he paid his bill, bade farewell to the pretty dancer whose feet he saw now were bigger than his, and headed to the airport. The rest we know. Chris settled down, partially overcoming his hostility to the south of England for Emma's sake. Unable to resist a losing cause, he got a job at another local newspaper and embarked upon the statistical analysis of dozens of second-hand smoking studies. Now, when I visit, I'm woken at 5 o'clock in the morning, not by Chris's dad, but by the blasted Brighton seagulls. Chris may not be writing songs anymore, but he's still firmly on course to be famous, and has found a beautiful, clever, and astonishingly tolerant wife to be famous with. Will you please stand and raise your glasses to Chris and Emma?